Namaste, my name is Lenny, and today I want to talk a little about our breathing and why breathing is so important in our yoga practice. Before we go into the different reasons why it is so important, I want to clarify a little what the breathing actually is, what happens in the body when we breathe. So the whole system we call respiratory system. This means the system which includes the inhalation down to the lungs and the exhalation again. So when we inhale, we can either inhale through the nose or the mouth. Better is through the nose, because in the nose the air is filtered. So if there are small particles of something, they will be filtered out. Secondly, in the nose, the whole pathway is a little longer than from the mouth, so the air is warmed up. That means when we're in a very cold climate, when we breathe through the nose, the cold air will be warmed and will come to the lungs warm and not cold. Our lungs don't like cold air at all. And the third reason is why it is better to breathe through the nose and not through the mouth is because in the nose the air is moisturized. So when we are in a very dry climate, when we breathe through the nose, the air is moisturized and our lungs like that better than dry and cold air. So because of these three reasons, the temperature, the filtration and the moisturization, it is better to breathe through the nose and not through the mouth. Mostly in our yoga practice, we anyways breathe through the nose. There are only very certain breathing techniques when we use the mouth. Otherwise, we always breathe through the nose, inhalation and exhalation. Now let's go further. We inhale through nose or mouth, best is the nose. Then the air comes down into our pharynx. In the pharynx, the windpipe splits up. So we have the windpipe and the food pipe. When we breathe in, there is a small flap called the epiglottis. This flap is open, so the air can pass into the windpipe. When we swallow something like food or drinks or just our own spit, that small flap closes the windpipe and everything what we swallow would go down the food pipe. So it's like a divider. So when we breathe in and out, this flap is open. This flap is called epiglottis. So I breathe in, the air comes down, and then the windpipe divides into two branches, into the bronchi. And these bronchi then go inside the lungs. The lungs, when we think of the lungs, we sometimes think there are some hollow spaces and they just fill with air and then they squeeze out the air again. It's not quite like that. It's more like a sponge. So the branches, they go into our two lungs here, and then they split up more and more, so they become smaller and smaller. You can imagine it like the roots of a tree. So first they're thicker and then they thin out and they become more and more. And at the end of all these small roots, we have small balloons. We call them alveoli. And in these small balloons, the air comes inside. So when I breathe in, these balloons expand, they look like a full nice grape. And when I exhale, they contract and they look more of a raisin. And we have millions of these small balloons in our lungs. So that's why I'm saying it's more like a sponge and not like one big empty cavity. All these small balloons fill up with air. And around such a balloon, we have our blood vessels. So when we inhale, and the balloon is full, the blood vessels, they have also very fine skin, and the gases can pass through from the balloon into the blood. So this is why we, for example, we say in pranayama, it is very important, or the most important thing is the inner retention. That means I breathe in, I hold the breath. That means in that moment, the alveoli are fully extended, the air is in here, and when I prolong this time when they're fully extended, more gases can change through the walls. So this is our breathing system. The whole breathing actually starts in our diaphragm. Diaphragm is a muscle down here, and when it is relaxed, it's curved like this. Now when it contracts, it flattens out. This is when I inhale. With this movement of the muscles, the lungs are pulled down a little and a vacuum is created. And then the air flows into the lungs. This is how we inhale. Now when this muscle is relaxed again, it curves up again, The lungs are also relaxed and I breathe out. Okay? Inhale exhale. Inhale, exhale. So this is how our breathing is happening. This is the strict anatomical science behind our breathing. Now I want to look into 3 parts why breathing is so important in yoga. The first reason is, with our breathing, we can connect our mind to our body. We can lock our mind. When I focus on my breathing, my mind cannot wander off. It has to stay right where I am. So in yoga, when we have a flow, when we have some kind of practice, we always combine the breathing with the physical posture. We do this to lock the mind in this moment. One more reason why breathing is so important in yoga is because when we hold poses for longer, we've tried this, even a simple pose can become very difficult if you have to hold it for a longer time. Then it happens that your stress response is switched on. Your body feels stress, feels scared, feels fear. In that moment, so you hold the pose, stress response switches on, you focus on your breathing and you slower your breathing again. When the stress response kicks in, your breathing will become very fast, your heartbeat will become rapid, but then you consciously slower down your breathing, your heart rate will come down, and you switch back to a relaxed mode. And this is very important in our day-to-day life. When we do this in the yoga practice, the conscious switching from the stress mode to the relaxed mode through our breathing, new neural pathways are built in our brain. That means our brain learns each and every time to fastly switch from stress to relaxation. And this we can use in our daily life. When we come into a stressful situation, we focus on our breathing, our body will already know what to do, and we fastly switch from the stress response into a relaxed mode. And then we can act out of a place where we can really think and act clearly, and not just because we are afraid of something. So yoga practice is not just happening on the mat. You see that your yoga practice is really successful when you can integrate all these things into your day-to-day life. Now the last thing I want to mention about breathing and yoga is pranayama. Pranayama are the breathing techniques of yoga. So the traditional or the very common translation of pranayama means prana, the life force, yama, control. So the control over your life force, the breathing control also. I want to introduce an alternate description of this. So we have prana, the life force, and ayama. Ayama is the expansion. So with pranayama, we expand our life force. A very beautiful picture in my opinion. So in pranayama, these are all the breathing techniques of yoga. We bring prana into our body, we divide it into the different parts of the body, and we expand our own life force. Now these are the 3 big reasons why breathing is so important in yoga. I hope you could learn something from this lesson, and see you next time. Thank you.